Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, the political fallout of the deadly ICE shootings of protesters in Minnesota. Also tonight, a new book looks at 100 years of dude ranching. And we'll hear about the Phoenix Zoo's newest resident, Pili Pili, a 500-pound African lion. Those stories and more next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your public television station.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. An increasing number of Republicans are questioning the Trump administration's actions after the deadly shootings of protesters and ICE agents in Minnesota, along with President Trump's threats to occupy Greenland. But how much is the GOP really pushing back, and what does it mean to this year's elections? Joining us now is Chuck Coughlin, CEO of the political consulting firm High Ground. Good to see you again.
Great to see you.
Thanks for being. All right. It seems like the narrative, national narrative is there's a little bit of pushback. How much pushback's going on?
Not a lot. I mean, there's some sweaty palms maybe in Congress about the midterm elections and the prospects of what's to come. But nobody's outright abandoning the president for the most part on the Republican side. You have some swing state Republicans that are expressing grievances. You have some congressmen that have talked in grievous manners about his behavior previously, who are now doubling down again. But you're not seeing a lot of movement.
So the latest fatal shooting in Minnesota, the White House rushing to judgment, videos showing completely opposite of what the administration is saying. All of these things not moving the needle too much?
Not moving the needle too much. I mean, the issue here is the deep polarization of the electorate. As we've discussed on the program before, 80% of Congress, of the House, gets elected outright in a primary. They don't face a general election. So you go ask them, like, where's my threat in my election? Does it come from the left? No, because I'm not going to lose a general election in my district because it's a safe D or a safe R. I'm going to lose it because of a challenge from the right or from the left if you're a Democrat. So they're pushed into these polar positions, and they're going to hold on to those positions pretty tightly.
Are they going to hold on to those positions if the narrative changes, if the mood changes, if by speaking up about this, you're not necessarily immediately punished?
Hey, Ted, what are you saying that there's people that
No, I'm just asking.
Yes. I mean, that eventually, we all see that. We see that historically as people start to move as the fire gets hotter, as we saw the president move today and start backing away from his narrative and backing up, which is going to create less anxiety amongst those faithful Republicans. But yes, there is a problem. And he's attempting to begin. Took Bovino out of Minnesota. Kristi Noem's probably going to lose her job.
Except for the fact that today he said she's not going to lose her job, and his quote was, "She's doing a very good job." You're not buying that, huh?
Well, I don't know. We shot another guy in Southern Arizona today.
Yeah, that was.
It's a continuum, and we'll see where it ends up. And then you still say that there's 80% of Republicans that still approve of Trump's job performance.
I want to get to that in a second here, but before we do that, let's get to Greenland. Backing off the threats, the terror threats, then backing off, forward, back. Some in GOP are saying, if we invade Greenland or something, that they would actually be listening to impeachment. There was a representative, I think, in Nebraska who's not running again, obviously. He called it utter buffoonery, what's going on as far as the administration and Greenland.
I think that's a fairly safe characterization of it. He is an egotist. He wants to control everything. He has no empathy or desire to recruit allies to his side. He's a bully, so he's bullying people. And it's had this, as the Prime Minister of Canada said, it's a rupture. And we have had a rupture in our relationship with our allies. And with this president, that's a proper assessment of that relationship.
Things like a rupture with our allies, these sorts of, these are pretty elevated things, and they're not necessarily what you go to the supermarket and think about and talk about. For the electorate in general, Republicans in particular, does it matter?
I mean, it does when it comes down to economic issues, as you just said. Does it affect the sticker price of a car? Does it affect my grocery prices? Does it affect gasoline prices? Does it affect my utility bills? Does it affect my health care bills? I mean, these are the kind of things that are bread and butter issues that Americans pay attention to, that most voters, particularly Republican, self-interested voters, these are things that matter to me. And so how am I going to assess those things?
And that would lead me to my next question is, you mentioned the polling and the strong support that still exists on the Republican side for the president. Why is that support there? I mean, with his behavior as it is, and I'll emphasize the word behavior, the things he says, the things he does, the way he behaves, is that still charming to these folks, or is that better than the alternative?
I think that's it. I think that's the conclusion we all have to reach, is the Democrats are caught in this action-reaction mode, not leading. Like, for instance, I mean, is there anybody in the Democratic community that is advocating today for a immigration reform measure? I mean, tell me anybody, because that would be leading. That would be talking about where do we want to go from here, not just pointing your finger at that guy going, I can't believe him. We need something, and you need something in the electorate to aspire to say this is what we're for. And we're not seeing that from the Democrats. You're just seeing grievance politics, grievance and re-grievance.
Why aren't you seeing that from the Democrats? This is a major political party. You've had Obama with Hope and Change here not that long ago. It's not that far back in the rearview mirror. Really, this is the best that they can do? Man,
it's crazy to me. It is absolutely crazy to me. I put an email into Senator Kelly's office. I put a text into Senator Gallego. I said, why aren't we seeing this? Why aren't we seeing more of a dialogue about what it is the country needs? We've been living in this since, 1070 at least, if not prior to that, which I was involved with, because we don't have an answer. And we're a border state with our state's largest trading partner to the south of us. You would think you'd want an immigration system that worked. We don't. I mean, and nobody's stepping up to say, let's fix that. Let's get it done. I've had people come up to me and tell me they want it broken. They want it broken because it fuels their grievances.
Yeah.
It fuels the grievance cycle. And you don't have to lead then. But McCain tried to do the Gang of Eight proposal. There's been other proposals been out there, but it would seem to me with the cycle. So Democrats probably likely going to regain the House in this cycle. You'd want to put some air under that. You'd want to get an idea that you could materialize in the House in the next cycle. You don't get the Senate. Maybe you don't. Maybe you do, but you don't. And so then it's teed up for the presidential cycle. You have a bill that you're for in the presidential cycle, and you can make it an issue. And my God, maybe we actually solve this by the time the next presidential election's over.
Chuck, last question before you go. I want to go back to the Republicans. I want to go back to conservatives. I remember, it wasn't that long ago, when conservatives didn't trust the elites, when conservatives didn't trust big business and big corp and big tech and big this and big that. It's like it's a return to the Gilded Age right now with the Trump administration, and I'm not hearing any fallout. What happened?
I think it's a matter of media consumption these days. People, algorithms. They read what they read, and you can't get them out of their algorithm. They have a routine of what they read, and we read different things. You can see a day's news coverage and see it one way from one news outlet and a totally different way from another news outlet. And so we're just so deeply divided as a country right now is how we take in our information. And I think that, all the media elites have been disparaged, right?
Right.
It's a mainstream media. Don't believe them anymore. The lamestream media, fake news, and then have a president that's calling a fake election, and you're like,
Well, and the what is mainstream media? The number one is Fox.
Right.
Does that make them mainstream or what?
for him it is,
Yeah.
because they're repeating what he wants them to say.
Chuck Coughlin with High Ground. It's always a pleasure speaking with you and getting your insights.
Well, my advice is when it's raining outside, put an umbrella up and keep moving. That's what I would do.
We'll write that one down.
Yep.
Killer whales are one of the most successful predators on the planet.
Here they come.
But one tiny group in Antarctica hunts like no others.
Only a handful of people on this planet have actually seen that behavior.
We're off to a pretty magical start.
Wednesday night at 7 on Arizona PBS.
An enduring enigma, Angkor Wat.
The engineering is unbelievable.
It's fascinating and frustrating.
Now Nova searches for answers.
Dirt archaeology with new technologies.
Angkor, Hidden Jungle Empire on Nova.
Wednesday night at 8 on Arizona PBS.
Gladiators are celebrities like the sports stars of today.
They're the Roman ideal of masculinity. But what if, hidden among their ranks, were women?
I realized that I was actually looking at female gladiators.
Queens of combat on Secrets of the Dead.
Wednesday night at 9 on Arizona PBS.
A new book celebrates the long history of dude ranching and the 100-year anniversary of the Dude Ranchers Association. It's a photo-driven coffee table book celebrating all things dude ranching. We learn more from Russell True, chairman of the Dude Ranchers Association. Joining us now is Russell True. He's chairman of the Dude Ranchers Association, the Dude Ranch Foundation. You're just all over dude ranching. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks. Thanks for having us.
Let's get started. What is a dude ranch?
Well, that's a lot of people have different definitions. Mine's simply a place that brings guests onto a ranch, and that can run the gamut from pretty basic eat, sleep, ride horses to pretty resort-like places.
I was going to ask, what do dudes do on a dude ranch?
Well, it just kind of depends on that specific ranch. So, some of them are cattle ranches that embrace tourists who come in and do the cattle ranch work with them, build the fence, fix the waters, chase cows. And others have tennis and spas and cuisine. And,
really?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
some
quite
are
a ranch.
five-star places.
For working ranches that also are dude ranches, do the dudes ever get in the way? Do you ever kind of want to shush them and get out? We got business to do here.
Well, we don't operate a ranch like that, but yeah, everybody is going to. Some are the best help ever, and others are getting in their own way.
All right. How long has dude ranching been around?
Well, I mean, dude ranching has probably been around. History says Eaton's Ranch was the first. It was called Custer Trail in the Dakota Territory, and the first signed guest was 1892. And then, turn of the century, it really exploded as, we call it an industry, but it's a micro segment of an industry. And they really took off. And so Dude Ranch Association was formed in 1926 to try and sort of promote and manage this growing hospitality segment.
And that's 100 years, and thus the book celebrating 100 years
Absolutely.
of the association. Was it a lot of just a bunch of Eastern folks just wanting to get out and be a cowboy for a week? Is that what was going on?
Meaning
here?
the guests?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Early on, you had to come by train.
Yeah.
And then you had to take a stage or a horse or a wagon out to the ranch. And so they weren't 1 week or weekend trips. These were, they came for the summer or the season or a good share of the season. Circle Z, they had private rail cars parked in Patagonia, and they'd stay for the. So I mean, dude ranching was for the elite, the people who had the time and the money and the thought process to take this great adventure.
And the Dude Ranch, the governing body here that we're celebrating 100 years for,
right.
That had to happen because the thing was exploding, wasn't it?
Yes, in that era, it was exploding.
Yeah, and how did that change things?
Well, I think it changed the West. And people, we're such a tiny little business, but we were the first destination vacation in the West. And here we're coming, all the families we know the names of, right? The Roosevelts, the Rockefellers, the Vanderbilts. They were all coming out, sending their kids, bringing their families. and some of them stuck, and they ended up changing the West.
Isn't that interesting? In Arizona, how many dude ranches do we have now, and has it changed over the years?
Yeah, there's in Frank Blaine Norris's master's thesis, there were 338 in Arizona that he identified.
Wow.
We're down to 14, 15.
Wow, what happened?
Well, lots of things, but Tucson had 127. It was the dude ranch capital of the world. In that case, Tucson just exploded and then, just ran over them.
Yeah.
Phoenix didn't have any that made it to the 80s. So a lot of it was urban growth, and it's a tough business model. And so, and now we have these rising real estate values in the the rural West, and some of them just get bought.
Yeah, so there's still a threat out there for dude ranches, isn't there?
That's probably, in my view, the biggest threat today.
Yeah.
Just the values.
Now, as far as the book is concerned, again, 100 years of the association, but it celebrates all things, as I said, dude ranching.
Right.
What do you want folks to take from this book? I mean, what is it? Just a look back? Is it a way to look forward? I mean, what do you got here?
Well, I mean, I'm a history guy.
Yeah.
So my business partner, Jay Wells, I had done a couple little dude ranch history books, and he said, dude ranching's bigger than those books. We need a better book. So this was really his vision, and to take the historic photos from the 26 ranches that were operating in 1926 or before and are operating today. And there's 26 of them. And so we have historic photos, and then Jay recruited Scott Baxter, noted Arizona photographer, who put together the modern photography to sort of compare with the old.
Yeah. Yeah, and I noticed our friend Bob Bosbell did the foreword there.
Yeah.
Nicely done by Bob.
Yeah, he was the perfect guy.
And great. I mean, the photos are just fantastic here. Yeah. This is Lynn Downey took these. She wrote the history, correct?
Scott Baxter, the 100 Years, 100 Ranches photographer. He did the photography, traveled to all these ranches, and then Lynn Downey is the foremost expert on dude ranch history, and she wrote the copy for the book.
Yeah. Do you think it's more difficult to get that history because folks back in the day were losing some of those folks? I mean, that first-person knowledge of the way dude ranching was in the past.
Yeah, it's scary. We just lost one today, and I'm starting to be an old timer, and I don't relish the name, but a lot of people that came before us who were great ranchers it's the evolution.
We do a lot of public policy on this program. So if you were to want something as far as public policy is concerned, to keep dude ranching alive, to perhaps even promote dude ranching and to have it expand, maybe not the way it once was, but at least more than it is now, what do you want to see? What would you want done?
Well, I think, property taxes can be an issue for dude ranches. They don't get the ag status the same. There's been some efforts, but it's not quite there. And the state tourism, AOT, they know about us and they work real hard. And if the state supported AOT more, they would help us more.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on the book. And congratulations on a great ranching career.
Oh, thank you.
And it's good to have you up here. Russell True, again, the Dude Ranch Foundation Chair. And the book is beautiful. It's it's a coffee table book and a half, I tell you. It's really something. Thank you so much for sharing. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
New England.
So we got Pennsylvania, Virginia, New York.
It's like, you know how New York's up there and there's all those little ones there? It's like those. New Hampshire?
Maryland.
Wait, I'm about to sing a state song.
Pennsylvania?
Do you know the song? Yeah, you don't know it? No. Ready? Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Georgia, Hawaii, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana,
Maine, Rhode Island,
New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio.
North and South Carolina.
Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan.
Massachusetts.
West Virginia. Does that count?
Wyoming, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania?
something Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, Virginia. Vermont? So was it? Yeah? I think we got 13.
She said every state, so you got 13.
I think so.
That was brilliant.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, no.
Pili Pili, a 3-year-old African lion, is the newest resident at the Phoenix Zoo. The 500-pound lion was brought here from Chicago's Lincoln Park Zoo as part of a program dedicated to maintaining a healthy, sustainable population of African lions. Here to tell us more about Pili Pili is Joaquin Hidalgo. He's from the Phoenix Zoo. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Who is Pili Pili?
Pili Pili is the star of the show right now. You know, he took my credit. He's an amazing boy. He's, like you mentioned, a 3-year-old African lion, came from Chicago, and he brought a lot of fans with him because these people are obsessed with them. I immediately became obsessed with them the moment they sent us his picture. I fell in love.
Oh, why is he sent here?
He was sent here because we have 2 beautiful girls, Kamara and Zuri, who were looking for a boyfriend, you know?
Yes, yes.
There he is. Look at that handsome boy. You know, we want to have a healthy population of a lion because, unfortunately, they are listed as vulnerable. And I was mentioning earlier, they've lost 90% of their natural habitat in the wild. So it is important to keep these animals happy and healthy and, of course, keep those numbers up. He's part of this program called the Species Survival Program.
Yes.
And that basically, the way I always kind of simplify it is a dating program for animals where you have a lot of professionals that'll look at these animals' genetics, where they come from, and they'll match them. They'll be like, we think Pili Pili is going to be a great match for Kamara. And that's how it works. Then he comes over here.
Is that the lioness that had a cub recently, or is that a different lioness?
Zuri is the one who had the cub recently. That's her sister. Now it's Kamara.
Okay.
So Kamara is going to be her a first-time mom this time around. Fingers crossed, right?
Yes.
And we're excited to see how that's going to turn out.
And you guys had 1, maybe 2 lions transferred to Miami. Is that true?
We had 2 beautiful little boys, Azizi and Jasiri. They were the first lions born here in over 30 years.
Wow.
And they went to Zoo Miami for similar things, right? Because our boys have to grow up and they have to leave the pride. And they will hopefully leave their pride now in Miami when the time is right.
So, Pili Pili looks like it's a happy boy. He looks content. He doesn't look like he's got too many problems here. Bonding him to his environment, bonding him to his handlers, how much of a challenge is that?
It really depends on the animal. And Pili immediately loved everybody. He felt so safe from the moment he came in from his crate. He was doing everything perfectly. His training behaviors that he got in Chicago stayed with him perfectly. Wow. He'll station. He'll put his paws up so we can see his paws. Open his mouth so we can see his mouth. He is such a good boy. Now, getting him to bond with the girls is a different question. Is a whole different thing. So introducing him to our girls. That's the challenge.
I see him climbing on these rocks and these sorts of things. Is that exercise? Is that what you guys do as far as getting these guys to work out a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, you know, lions are sometimes known as lazy animals because they sleep over 20 hours a day, but they can move when they want to, trust me. And they have a lot of rocks out there on their habitat that they can climb up and down all day. And of course, they want to get to the highest spots. They can see everything and find the best spot to take a nap.
Yeah. Talk to us more about lions. The difference between lions and tigers. Is there much difference?
Behavior-wise, it's like night and day. Like, lions are extremely social animals. They live in these big prides, whereas tigers are strictly solitary. And you're ever going to see them come together when it's mating time. And even then, it's never done anything romantic. You know, they're not hanging out. And with our cats at the zoo, the lions, super social. They come up, they're curious to see what you want to do. I think our tigers are a bit more standoffish. Our male Raja, he's a bit more curious. He'll say hello, but our girl Joanne, she's the cutest. She loves playing with her boxes, does not like me whatsoever. She looks at me and she gives me the death stare. And, you know, as a human being, you go, I understand. You're a tiger.
Yeah.
You stay there.
It sounds like, I mean, in the wild, it sounds like tigers would be probably more dangerous than lions, wouldn't you think?
You know, they are definitely far stealthier, I think.
Yes.
And they do, both cats go through human-wildlife conflict because they overlap with people. But, you know, I don't think I'd want to face either one of these guys in the wild.
No. But lions more dog-like, you would say.
Yeah, I always kind of go, they kind of feel more like cats or dogs on cat hardware, you know?
Yeah.
But they are far more social. They play with each other and their family. And I think they're a lot more expressive, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But tiger is definitely more standoffish.
But again, and as far as acclimated to the surroundings, I mean, this is a difference. Chicago and Phoenix, that's a pretty big difference
Right?
there. I mean, they just fit right in, huh?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the weather here in Phoenix is probably going to be more akin to what it would be like in Africa for him as well anyway.
Yes.
But over in Chicago, he had a great temperature-controlled environment. I don't think he misses the snow, probably. You know?
Yes.
The weather right now over there is not a lot of fun. But, you know, here in Arizona, he hasn't experienced his first summer yet. But once we hit those like summers here, we'll have air conditioning, misters, the whole thing.
So Pili Pili is available for viewing right now, huh?
Yeah, if you go to the Phoenix Zoo, you will see this handsome lion out there. He's currently out there spending time with the girls, getting to know them. So you might see him, you might see the girls. Hopefully you see all three of them together.
Yeah, sounds great. Joaquin Hidalgo, again, congratulations on Pili Pili. And I can't wait to get out there and see that big fella. He's a good-looking guy.
Yeah, just ask him to smile, you know? Give him a good roar on the rock.
That sounds good. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And that is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Because kids will always be more curious, Arizona PBS delivers programs that serve as a trusted guide for little explorers. Thanks to you and...
Founded by Alvin Ailey, Ailey 2 brings off-the-charts energy and powerful